So this will be my first chance to go through this presentation with an audience. We were going to do one at Rock Creek last Friday, and that got postponed. So we're starting our 2017-19 biennium budget process. We budget on a 2-year basis to kind of coincide with the state 2-year budget. A lot of the other community colleges only do a 1-year budget, but we've been doing this biennial budget for several years now. And there's always challenges every time. I mean, no matter how much funding we get from the state, there's always so many more good things we could be doing if we just had additional resources. And we don't, and this year isn't going to be any different in that regard. So. So I just wanted to show a couple of quick pie charts just to give a little feel for people who may not know where our money comes from or where it goes. So you can see the gray area, the biggest area, and this is just our general operating fund of the college. We maintain several other funds like the bond fund that we build our buildings with. Some grant funds are accounted for in a different fund. But the general operating fund of the college, they get 43.5% of the money from tuition and fees. And this is based on last year's data. So we get about 40% from state funding, about 15% from property taxes, and a little over 1% from transfers from other funds. That's like the indirect costs we charge the grants. It's a fee we charge the auxiliary services like the bookstore and food services and the print center to cover their share of the general fund costs. And then our miscellaneous type revenues is less than 1% of the budget. So we essentially have 3 funding sources when we look at it. This will be a little important as we talk later. One of the trends you see kind of change over time is sometimes the state share is lower, sometimes the tuition and fees percent is higher. So usually the trend for us is when the economy gets bad, people come to the community college, and it's also the time the state's usually cutting revenue. So you might see that in the bad times, maybe the tuition and fees percentage will top 50%, and the state support will go down to around, the mid-30s. So those trends do change over time. Property taxes stays pretty stable. So 3 main funding sources. Then on the expenditure side, well, where does our money go? Well, one part that was interesting to me as I started putting together the data, over half of all the money we take in goes directly to faculty, including part-time faculty, salary and benefits. About 22.7 goes to the classified staff, and that's the underlying support people, whether it's custodial or some of the assistants. Administrative is about 11%. Material supplies and services also in that 10% range. So, and then we have utilities, our electricity, natural gas, 3%. Capital equipment, less than 1%. So those are the bigger things. Usually things like computers, we don't consider big capital equipment purchases because the prices come down so much now. So they're usually in that 10% supplies figure. And then we also have some transfers we do to other funds. That'd be things like transfers to our risk management fund to cover our liability insurance. It would be things like within some of the bargain agreements, there's an early retirement language, so it's a transfer we do over there. So the big point here, though, is if you add up all the salaries and benefits together, we're a little over 84%. So PCC is a service institution. We provide educational service. So in most institutions, you're going to see salaries and benefits take up the biggest portion of the budget, and we're no exception. One thing that has concerned me a bit is that over time, we see the salary and benefits portion continue to inch up leaving less for the materials, supplies, and services. So I know that's one of the reasons why when we are building our budgets, people are pointing out that there's unmet operational needs. Or when we did our first round of strategic initiative proposals, there were a lot of them that were really addressing unmet operational needs. I need $20,000 for my art classroom equipment. I need $20,000 for science room equipment. I need an investment for a learning center. So we saw a lot of things that came out of the strategic plan process that pointed to unmet operational needs. So as we're building the 2017-19 budget, kind of what's the story? Well, as we've been in this biennium, we've still seen enrollment on the decline. It's hard to project what it's going to do into the next biennium. Chances are it might still decline a little. I asked Laura Massey from Institutional Effectiveness, and she said, oh, plus or minus 2%. So is kind of her projection. Of course, along with the state budgeting cycle, we usually enter into our next round of negotiations, which is very important to the budget process. As you saw, salaries and benefits makes up 84% of the budget. Early indicators we've seen from the state is there's going to be no increase in state funding or a minimal increase. Of course, we'll keep working with the legislators throughout the process to kind of ratchet up the support for community colleges and make sure they understand our story. We also know we have some mandated cost increases. I'll get into this in a little more detail in a while. So we know as we're beginning the process with some minimal revenue increases but mandated cost increases, we're starting off about $11 million in the hole. For a little bit of perspective, for the general fund last year, we took in and spent around $210 million. So over the biennium, our budget is probably going to be in that $400 to $425 million of expenditures. So 11% of $11 million as a part of that is probably in the 2.5% range. So sometimes we have these discussions, and one of the common questions that comes up, well, why don't we just raise more revenue to offset the increased costs? Well, property taxes are not under our local control. Back in the 1990s, Measures 5 and Measure 50 set the property tax structure. So our property tax rate that we charge the property tax holders is not set by our local board. It's 28.28 cents per $1,000 of taxable valuation to support the general fund. So we don't have any authority to change that rate. We do tend to gain a bit more property tax revenue over time because the property tax base goes up every year. Within the Measure 5 and Measure 50 funding, people really are not taxed for the most part on what they could really sell their house for. College-wide through the 5 counties that the PCC has a piece of, people are taxed on about 65% of the value of their property. And part of Measure 5 and Measure 50 says that the local county assessors can only close that gap 3% a year. So we can project that for the near foreseeable future, we should probably still see property tax increases. So even during the Great Recession, when a lot of us experienced property tax values going down, we were still seeing a modest increase in our property tax revenue, usually in the $1.25 million range a year it goes up. Well, so that takes care of like 15% of the budget. We know we'll have a modest increase, but it's not in our local control. Then we have the state funding formula, and that's set at the legislative level. So while we'll continue to work with our legislators, it's not going to be directly under our control what that amount of funding is going to be. So that's another 40-some% that is also not under local control. So the part that is under local control is then what are we going to charge for a tuition rate? And of course, the board's always reluctant to raise tuition because of the impact that it has on the students. And we do have students come and petition the board on a regular basis about the hardship of not only tuition increases, but also around their needs for things like help with food, help with housing, just help with being able to come to college in the first place. And then all of our other revenue sources, the miscellaneous type things, that's things like interest on our investments, it's fees from the child care centers, it's our facility rentals. So a lot of them, if we do want to raise additional revenue in that miscellaneous side, a lot of times there's offsetting costs. Like if we want to rent out facilities more, then there's more setup costs and tear down costs. So it's not all profit. One of the questions then is, well, why if the state is receiving more revenue, because the state is projecting their revenues to grow in the 8.4% range for the next biennium. So why aren't we receiving more of that? Well, the state's still projecting a shortfall of their own in the 1.8 billion range is the figure that they're kicking around because of their own increasing PERS costs and a lot of because of the payments they have to make under the Affordable Care Act. They said it has left them about $1 billion short for the biennium. Even though the state funding for community colleges and higher ed might be flatter, it's still better than what some of the other service areas are showing in this early stage of the budgeting process. You know, earlier we were warned that we might have a 10% reduction in state funding for this biennium. So being at flat or no increase is still a lot better than a 10% decrease, but it's still causing a problem. And so as you go through the legislative session, you'll hear talk around, okay, what's the figure for community college workforce development? So right now, the early stages, it's $550 million was what was in the governor's budget, the same figure that the state is providing for community colleges this biennium. So one thing I tell people is we'll have talks, because there's already been some talks that, well, maybe the co-chair's budget's going to say 556.1. Well, what's the difference between that 556.1 that the co-chairs might endorse and the 550? Well, that's $6.1 million. Figure about a third of that comes directly to PCC, because we're going to get about a third of any additional money added into that. So if they ratchet up the community college workforce development funding to 560, well, that'll give us another $3 million over where we were. This is kind of the picture of what state funding for community colleges has looked like over the years, and you kind of see it goes up and down. So in 2007-9, it was at $500 million, and finally in 2015-17, after some time of decline, we've gotten back to a place where the state is putting more dollars into community colleges than they were 8 years ago. But the problem I like to show people with that is, even though the state is now putting a little more money in, so over an 8-year time period, maybe funding for community colleges grew 10%, enrollment has also grown. So when you overlay the funding with the number of students being served, and even that doesn't count all students. These are just the students the state considers reimbursable. We're still being funded at a slightly lower level as far as dollars behind student than we were back in 2007, 2009. So that's one of our challenges. So even though the total amount of dollars has increased, the dollars behind each student has gone down. Some students don't count for state reimbursement. International students, for example, a lot of our non-credit type classes may not count for state reimbursement. If we look at the tuition and fee structure as the one part that's under our local control, how do we compare to the other community colleges in Oregon? So if you look at just straight tuition for the in-district students, we rank 7th from the top of the 17 community colleges. And we rank 11th from the top on the international students. But when you combine it with the fee structure, you see we drop down to 13th of the 17th. So there's only 3 or 4 more colleges that have a lower tuition and fee cost than we do at PCC. So it seems like what we're charging is well within reason compared to the rest of the state. And of course, sometimes we have challenges that maybe some of the others don't. Like if you're some of the small school colleges like Oregon Coast, you might not be even having international students. As we've heard a lot from our undocumented students recently. Well, some of those settings may not have quite the population of undocumented students with the needs that they're bringing forward. So I think because of our size and our location, we have some challenges that not every college does. If the board's reluctant to increase tuition, and not that they may not, but it takes a lot of educating and helping them understand. Well, what about increasing our enrollment? Will that help? Well, our enrollment is still declining, so certainly if we increase enrollment, it's going to have some difference. It always increases our tuition and fees. It may or may not increase our funding from the state. The state does put a cap on the amount of students they'll reimburse. And right now we're a few hundred students below that cap, so we do have room for some additional enrollment that the state would still reimburse. But one thing I think a lot of people don't understand is the state doesn't really fund us for the students we have today. They plug it into the Community College Support Fund formula. So really, like this year, we're getting funded based on 40% of the enrollment we had last year, and 30% of the enrollment from 2 years ago, and 30% of the enrollment from 3 years ago. So there's always kind of a timing gap between what we're seeing with our enrollment and what is happening at the state level. So at times when we're growing, the funding lags behind by up to 3 years. So it takes a full 3 years before we're actually covered for the cost of that student. Well then, if we have a hard time raising revenue, why don't we just cut out the fat? That'll be one of the comments that you'll hear a lot too. And so I say, well, we recall that 84% of that budget is in salaries and benefits. So when you start talking any kind of significant reduction, it's hard to get there without looking at our staffing levels. And so the about 11% that goes for materials, supplies, services, and equipment, some of that is for mandated services or operational necessities. We live in a modern technological age, so you can't just say, well, we're not going to have software licenses or we're not going to have computers. Some things are actually mandated by law, like we have to have an audit of our financial records every year. And while that's not a big piece of this 11 million, maybe it's 150,000, it's still, those kind of things still add up. So of that materials and supplies, a lot of it's really mandated for use. And then if people that have been here for a while think back, when we were building the budget for 2013-15, we did an across-the-board cut of 4% for all campuses and departments and service areas. So we already bled about $8 million a year out of the system, either through line item cuts or through staff reductions. So since we've already done a pretty hard cut just in the near past, it's going to be hard to come back and say, oh, we can't do that again. And then, like I point out, when we do our strategic plan initiative proposals and I'm seeing all these essentially operational needs come forward, it shows me that we're currently not meeting the operational needs that we do have. Another question that comes up sometimes is, well, don't we have some reserves or a fund balance we can use? During the Great Recession, we spent our reserves down $20 million in a 3-year period. And a lot of that was to kind of cover that timing lag between us serving the students and when the state gives the money, as well as we went several thousand students over the cap that the state would reimburse us for. So keeping that open access has been one of the cornerstone goals for the board over the years. So we dropped the fund balance down quite a bit. And so we're still have a fund balance of about it's in the $20 million range. So it's about 10% of the annual budget. What I've been encouraging the board to do is we really need a fund balance that's probably closer to 15%. And I say that for a couple of reasons. One is if you just look at industry standards, they'll usually say, well, a fund balance should be anywhere from 5% to 15%. So why am I arguing for the higher level for PCC? Well, does anybody know where the state gets their money? Yep. The state gets the bulk of their money from personal income taxes. It's one of the challenges that the state is going to have to resolve at some time in the future if they really want to adequately fund education and other important services. Because the corporate business side pays about 6% of all the revenue the state takes in. Individuals pay in that 88 to 90%. And things like lottery money make up the rest of the state's budget. So I know Measure 97 went down in defeat this last election, and I'm not going to say whether it was the best methodology to try to close some of this gap or not. But at some point, I think the corporate side is going to have to be held accountable for a lot of the services that they receive if we're going to be able to, as a state, fund things like education at the level which they should. So that's one of the challenges. So during the Great Recession, we had a spend down of about 20 million. The last 3 years, we've operated pretty close to the break-even point on our funding. And so I say, well, first of all, we need that 15%. So we need the higher fund balance, partly because of the state's funding model, where it lags behind. Also partly because of the volatility of state funding, the way it goes up and down over time. Partly because of the cap that the state puts in place. And then partly because we have such a volatile income source for the state, because personal income taxes is one of the more volatile pieces for the state to build their budget on, because it can rise and fall quickly with the strength of the economy. Also, if you get into disaster planning models, incident recovery, things like that, they usually petition you to have 2 months of operating costs in reserve. And so 2 months is around 16%. So also to meet that standard would be there. And even if we're not there now, I mean, 20 million, that's nothing to mock or take lightly. It's just not an amount that's really positioning us well for the next time enrollment takes off. And so one of my messages to the board is, well, if we don't build up the fund balance, then the next time we have an enrollment surge, we may have to limit access to like what the state will reimburse us for, rather than keeping open access for everybody. And that would be a big shift in their philosophy from earlier years. Oh, another thing we hear a lot about, and it's one that I've been talking about since I've been here, and I'll probably spend my career at PCC talking about PERS. So what's the situation with PERS? Well, PERS rates have been increasing steadily since the Great Recession, and they're projected to continue growing. And so one thing that I throw out for folks is, since our general fund payroll is over $100 million, every time the PERS rate ratchets up, that leads to another $1 million going to PERS that isn't available for our other operational needs or instructional improvement efforts. I did see, though, just from the Oregonian last Friday, that there will be some measures around PERS this session too, so that'll be something to watch carefully. It was interesting because when the governor released her budget, it was kind of a soft figure because she built it on revenue sources that haven't been approved yet, and that would take like a 60% majority of the legislators to implement. So she kind of built her budget with some hopeful math. The word from the Republican side of things is, we're not going to approve these additional taxes unless we see some kind of movement on PERS. So at least I've seen they're trying to bring forth some legislation on PERS. If people remember back in the 2013-15 biennium, the legislature did approve some changes to PERS, and that kept our rate from going up as much as it might have been. But then, of course, some of those actions were challenged. Did the legislature really have the scope of authority to make those changes? And ultimately, the Oregon Supreme Court said no. So then the rate's coming back up again. So they've already tried some changes. So the big one I've seen so far is we have several different elements that make up our PERS rate. And so one is the 6% employer's contribution, or the employee's contribution. And here at PCC, we've bargained in the past that we as the employers will pay that cost. So the 6% employee contribution goes into an individual account separate from the greater PERS pool. So you all have your individual account within PERS, and what they're proposing is that going forward, instead of that 6% going into an individual account for each person, they might just put that into the collective PERS pool. And I would expect any legislation around PERS will probably be contested, and we'll just have to see where it ends up. So as a system, it's probably not a bad move, because a lot of the proponents argue that Oregon is one of the only states where the individuals actually don't contribute anything into the system, because the 6% that they're contributing goes into an account for them. And this would be a way for the employees to have some skin in the game. So we'll just see where it goes. So from a system-wide thing, I think it's okay. From an individual with a PERS account and knowing that some of that money is mine, no matter what happens with the rest of the system, we lose as individuals a bit of security. But they can't go back retroactively and make that change. It would only be moving forward. So whatever's in your individual account now stays in your individual account. It just may not get those continued contributions. This just kind of shows the PERS rates over time. And so we can see we were less than 1% in 2009-11, increasing up to almost 15% for the Tier 1, Tier 2 employees as we move in 17-19. And then, though these rates are not definite yet, because many things will change in the intervening years, but I serve on the PERS Employers Advisory Group. And so at our recent meeting, they were saying, well, based on the current data, not only are we having this increase for the 17-19 biennium, but we'll probably be looking at increases for the next 3 bienniums until the PERS rates level off. Over the very, very long term, I think PERS will probably work. Once the Tier 1 and Tier 2 people move out of the system and you're left with the OPSRF, it's probably a much more workable system. But it's going to take decades to have all the Tier 1 and Tier 2 people move out of the system. So as we're starting this process, the things I'm sharing is, okay, we know we have some additional resources coming in. We have some additional property taxes. And even at flat statewide support for community colleges, we still think PCC is going to get a bigger share of the community college pie than what we've had, because our enrollment, while declining, has not declined as rapidly as some of the other community colleges. So we're serving a greater portion of the students. So we think our funding is going to go up a little bit. So we know we've got about $8 million of additional revenues. But then as we look at some of our mandated requirements, we know we're getting ready for the next negotiation cycle, but already within the faculty contract, step movement is guaranteed. And so for the 2 years of the biennium, we have an estimated cost. We know the state passed a minimum wage increase, and we have an estimate of what that's going to cost the college. State also made some changes to paid sick leave that's going to impact some of our employees. We've had some Title IX compliance issues come out that from the federal level that were not funded. The big one for us is the PERS rate increase. So for that $8 million of additional revenue, we have $18 million of additional costs. And then I say, well, outside of the mandated requirements, we have some that have been very consistent within PCC over time that are very probable that we're going to have to fund again. So classified staff step movement is not guaranteed by the contract. But we've typically granted that in the past, and it'll be part of the bargaining process again. Just like the cap on what we put into the health insurance account for the employees every month, or how much the college will pay. That's usually another subject of bargaining that we've usually seen some kind of increase every year. At the federal level, there's been some changes in the Fair Labor Standards Act and who qualifies as an exempt employee and who doesn't. And so earlier I had that in the mandated list, but there's been an injunction while that one works through the courts. So we may see that have to go in place. We may not. It'll just be what the courts decide at the federal level. So I've also set aside some dollars for some of the places where we made staff additions or where we have known budget deficiencies, where we're already spending the money, but there's nothing in the budget for it. So that would be some of the things like the recent change to split the Vice President of Academic and Student Affairs into 2 positions. It would be some of the things like Human Resources has to cover, like union release time where they have a budget for it, but it's not enough to cover. Or also the candidate travel for interviews. They've never had the budget for it. So there's a list of those things. So I thought, but what it doesn't include any figures for yet is things like, well, we know we're starting out in Columbia County, the OMEC Center, so I don't have a real good estimate on what those costs will be yet. We're not setting aside anything more for strategic plan implementation or for the development of the President's Work Plan. The capital improvement of deferred maintenance backlog, it doesn't address any of that. It doesn't address any kind of enrollment changes or contingency. So those are things that could make the numbers change as we move further into the process. So, a lot of times the numbers are based on estimates. They go up and down as I get better information or as we move through the process. Well, do we have any other potential funding sources? Well, the big one, of course, is tuition and what the board decides to do around a potential tuition increase. Because every dollar per credit hour we increase tuition rate raises about $800,000. So if the board did kind of their standard tuition increase, which over time has averaged like $3, that would be raise an additional $2.4 million the first year of the biennium. It would raise that $2.4 million the second year of the biennium too, because the rate has gone up. As well as if they did another $3 increase the second year of the biennium, it would raise an additional $2.4. So over the biennium, it would, like a $3 increase would raise $7.2 million. One thing people may not remember or may not know about is back when we did bargaining for the 2013-15 time period, one of the things that was happening was the legislative changes around PERS. And we knew that because that legislation was going through, the rate we were required to pay PERS didn't go up as much as it might have been. But we also knew it would be contested. So we bargained language that says, okay, we're going to go ahead and give the salary increase because the rate is going down right now this biennium. So we have the dollars. But we also know it might get overturned later, so we put in some contingency language that if the PERS legislation was overturned and our rates went up, that we would do a 1% rollback of salaries. And so we have a figure estimated for that. Another thing that PCC has that not every place does is in the years where our PERS rate was down very low, we set aside money in a PERS reserve fund. And so we have, I think, around $25 million in that PERS reserve fund. So we're saying, well, we can use $2.5 million a year for that over the next 10 years to offset some of these PERS costs. And then in 10 years, the PERS reserve fund is gone. But another thing we have at PCC is years in the past, we issued debt and gave the money to PERS to cover what they called our unfunded actuarial liability. So we have this big side account sitting at PERS. And the advantage of doing that was PERS was charging us 8% on this unfunded actuarial liability, and we could issue debt and give PERS the money and only pay like 4% interest on the debt. So over the life of these bonds we issued, we're saving over $30 million for the college. And in 10 years, when the PERS reserve fund is emptied, then the debt on that will be paid off too, which is in the $8 or $9 million range a year. So it seems like a good plan. And then whatever else we can think of for additional revenue sources. You know, one thing I've had some discussion about is I know some of the other community colleges actually charge a fee for dual credit students. And we don't here, even though we sometimes have costs associated with processing those dual credit students. So if we did like Clackamas Community College and charged $10 a credit, we could probably raise a few $100,000. So there's some ideas floating around that'll take some discussion with the board. So we've got, and this is just kind of the summary that gets us to that 11.2 figure. That's my latest update on it. And like I say, the figures will change as we continue to replace estimates with better data. So what are we doing now? Well, right now when we have vacant positions, they're being reviewed by myself and the Director of Human Resources before they're posted, just to make sure we're making wise decisions around the positions. We did one round of strategic planning initiative proposals this year. We'd originally planned a second round of them, and we're putting that on hold now until the president gets his work plan a little more developed, but then it might also preserve some funds for reinvestment in strategic plan next year. And so the other thing that I'm working on right now is a whole variety of scenarios for the board based on different tuition levels, and showing them, well, if you don't raise tuition at all, this is what it looks like, and this is going to be the impact. And some of those scenarios do take staff reduction in order to get back to a balanced budget. So, I mean, it's a possibility. And the board will continue to have discussion around the budget. So there's a couple important dates coming up. This next Saturday, we have the Ways and Means Roadshow stopping right here on the Sylvania campus. It's a good chance to give the Ways and Means Committee some insight into what we're experiencing here at PCC as our budget challenges and what that additional funding or lack of that funding could mean to us. We have our PCC Day at the Capitol coming up. And then usually at the February board meeting, the board makes their determination on what the tuition rates should be for the next biennium. Though I think there's been some talk of maybe moving that to a special meeting on March 2nd so all board members can participate. But within the month, we should know what the board is wanting to do around tuition. And so, like I said, I'm giving them many different scenarios with all the same kind of data that I've shared with you today to help them make an informed and educated decision. It's never easy to make tuition increase. I know there's always concerns that every time you raise tuition that perhaps you're costing some students out of college, and they always want to avoid that, but it's also kind of a reality. And I think that's pretty much what I had for a formal presentation.